Well, hey friends, my name is Brooklyn Lindsay, and this is Linda, and you're watching the Grow Curriculum Deep Dive for the series Ever After from Grow Kids Volume 5. For the next few minutes, we're going to give you a big picture overview of what you can expect during this deep dive so you can be better prepared to teach it. But we're also going to take an in-depth look at some of the specifics of this series so you won't miss a thing.
And if you're a Grow user, our goal is for you to get a head start on planning for June's Ever After series. And if you're not a Grow user, that's great. Welcome. We hope that a lot of the ideas we talk about today are helpful for you and you can use that in your ministry as you will. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to first give you an overview of Ever After, and then we'll look at the theme, which is the fun decorating parts. And then we'll look at the structure and talk about some things that are unique to the Ever After teaching series. And then lastly, we're going to give you just some tips that will help you level up Ever After and how you teach and decorate and do all the fun things for this series.
Yeah, and before we dive in, can we just talk about your Renaissance look you've got going on? I love it so much. I hope everyone else loves it too. It's beautiful.
Yes, I did go to many a Renaissance fair when I was younger, and these are some of the relics I had that I couldn't get myself to part with. So I thought, perfect for a deep dive about Ever After.
It's perfect. So if you've gone to a Renaissance fair or have anything like this laying around, please just grab it and
Yes, bring them all
use
out.
it. Yes. All right. Well, let's dive right in. Ever After is a series about Ruth. We're going to be looking at the entire book of Ruth by covering a chapter a week. I know as kids get older, they're told, fairy tales aren't real, and that life isn't going to be like a storybook. But the story of Ruth, Naomi, and Boaz might encourage us all that real life fairy tales do exist. And sometimes God is kind of a big romantic.
I love that. So this is how we're going to kick things off. In week one, we're going to be looking at the tragic beginnings of the story of Ruth and Naomi. And we're going to find out that even though Ruth had every opportunity and reason to leave Naomi, she didn't, and she decided to stick by her. So this week's big idea is God gives us companions.
In week 2, we'll look at Ruth 2 to learn the story of when Ruth first meets Boaz and what that meeting could mean for both Ruth and Boaz in their futures. So this week's big idea is God gives us hope.
That brings us to week 3, and we continue the story in chapter 3, where Ruth courageously asks Boaz to marry her and redeem her family, which leads to this week's big idea, which is God gives us boldness.
Then in week 4, we wrap up this fairy tale with Ruth 4 and how Boaz shrewdly made the arrangements so that he could, in fact, become Ruth's kinsman redeemer. And not only do they get their happily ever after, but their descendants also include King David and Jesus himself. That's why the big idea is God always takes care of us.
And the way that God has always been with Ruth and her family throughout this entire story, even through really tough circumstances, can be summarized in this month's memory verse, which comes from Psalm chapter 121, verse 8. It says, "The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore."
Okay, let's talk about the theme. This is so much fun. This month's decorating theme is fairy tales because we're talking about the story of Ruth and her journey. So you can draw inspiration from classic fairy tales like Goldilocks, like Jack and the Beanstalk, and of course we have all of the Disney movies. So yeah, just kind of take a look through all of your favorites and find some things that you might want to use as well.
And we mentioned in a previous deep dive that you may want to save some of your decorations from our Page Turner series, which was back in March, because of things like the giant storybook and reading nooks, you could reuse it for this series as well. But if you gave them all away or threw them all away, well, at least now you are experts and you know how to put them together now. The difference between Page Turner and Ever After is that Page Turner was more focused on the books and kind of these like fantasy type stories. And Ever After, we want to go more of the fairy tale, enchanted forest type of aesthetic. thematic. So, what you might want to do is start off with an enchanted forest, some sort of tree with twinkle lights, fairies, woodland creatures that would completely add to that look. And of course, a castle backdrop wouldn't hurt. You can get a backdrop or you can have freestanding castles to add to your decorated spaces. I think that'd be really fun for kids to like walk through drawbridges and things like that. And also, we can never neglect to dress up as part of the decorations because, moving props and decorations. So encourage volunteers to dress up. We were saying earlier about the Renaissance Fair, right? But I kid you not, like there are so many great costume ideas that you can have
Mhm.
volunteers dress up as. And I've learned that if you just look through your closet, there are always pieces you can kind of put together in a creative way to just make that look happen. So get creative and also share
Yes.
your photos with us because we want to see that.
Mhm.
And
Definitely.
also, in addition to the decorating, there are some fun giveaways you might want to give away as prizes or just fun little knickknacks to give to your kids. One thing you may not forget is a paper crown, right? They can decorate it with rhinestones or not decorate it at all, and they'll still look perfectly fine. We also have these cool little dragon figurines you might want to get for especially the boys who might not be into all of the like fairy tale princessy type things. You can also remind them that there are fun action elements to fairy tales as well. And lastly, check out these scratch art wands. You can use them as an additional craft or just as a take home kit for our kids to do. And all of these ideas you can find in our programming guide and even more goodies for you.
Next up, we want to look at the structure of this series. If you've been using Grow for a while, then you're already familiar with the way some things stay the same. Like our teaching is always broken up into the what, so what, and now what sections. So hopefully you've seen this in every series, but we want to make sure that as we do these deep dives, you can see how this structure makes sense and also how it makes this series unique. So you can have a better grasp on the things that you're going to be teaching.
And for this series, there are a couple of recurring segments that make this particular series super special, and that is the big idea reveals and the reflection modules.
Yes, the big idea reveals are super important. They're these really fun, thematic ways to help kids remember and repeat what they've been learning. So we really hope that you'll take a look at these opportunities for them to repeat the big idea every single week.
So, this month's big idea reveal involves getting an extra volunteer to dress up as some sort of woodland animal and to deliver the big idea to you, which will be written down beforehand in some kind of scroll all rolled up. And you can use a puppet if you don't have any volunteers who want to dress up, or maybe you don't have enough volunteers. So, you can actually have a puppet and do the whole thing yourself. The fun part of this, though, is that you can get the audience to kind of join in to help you like summon this creature. If you remember the movie Enchanted, you know how Giselle, she goes out the window and she's like, ah, and she like calls all the pigeons and vermin to her door.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can do that. You don't have to do that exact tune. You can do whatever tune you'd like, but it would be really fun for all the kids to join in to call this special helper to tell them this week's big idea.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah,
Stop. It's going to be the cutest month ever.
absolutely.
Yeah, so the big idea reveals are awesome. Another opportunity is through our reflection modules. These are opportunities for kids to wonder about what they're going to do with what they've learned. The reflection modules are basically like a call to an adventure, or just like it brings the whole lesson together in something they can do, something they can think about, something they can, reflect on for the rest of the week. So, what are a few opportunities for reflection, Linda?
Yeah, this month is super special because during the reflection time each week in the series, we're going to tie in an actual fairy tale or a fairy tale element to the reflection, and which will connect it to the big idea. So in week one, we're talking about the famous fable, The Lion and the Mouse, and how God sends companions, which is a big idea that week, and sometimes unlikely companions. And so that will help kids recognize, who are the companions in my life that I may not have recognized. So that'll be really great. great. In week 2, we're talking about hope. So we're talking about this concept of a hopeless romantic and what that means and what hope might actually look like in their lives. In week 3, we're talking about the story of Mulan and how she was super brave and bold and took huge risks to help her family, which is very similar to the things that Ruth did. Maybe she didn't go fight off into battle, but the things that she did was definitely countercultural, and she was brave, and she was able to help not only herself, but Naomi and her whole family. And then the last week, week 4, we're talking about the story of the elves and the shoemaker, and just kind of how God is taking care of us behind the scenes when we don't really see it, kind of like how the elves were helping the shoemaker with the shoes. And so I think it'd be great because then kids can kind of see, like, okay, well, here are the fairy tales that we've heard, but wow, God actually does these things. They're not just stories, but they teach us something about God, even though they're not from the
Mm.
Bible, if that makes any sense.
Yes, that's right. Like these are opportunities for kids to make connections about what they're learning and to be able to reflect on them after
Yes.
they've been hanging out with you. So I hope that everybody explores all these fun stories. I love all the cool creative opportunities leaders have not only to teach something really, really beautiful to kids, but also to use their imaginations and be like a kid again too. So
Yeah.
hopefully you get to dress up and have a good time. We have covered the overview, the theme, and the structure of this series, but we do have like a few more miscellaneous tips we wanted to share so you can make the most of it. So let's give you those now.
So, our first tip for you is to recruit storytellers to help teach the Bible. And we know we have different ways of suggesting how to teach the Bible for each series. And in this one, we are suggesting you dress up as the storybook maker or get someone else to do that. And the purpose is for them to kind of like draw the stories. I mean, they don't have to be beautiful pieces of art, they can be stick figure, but you kind of like draw the scenes as you're telling the story. Now, some of you might be a little apprehensive about that. So break it up and don't feel pressured into doing this all by yourself. Get as much help as you can to help you do this so that the story can come alive for the kids. And one way is to find a different person to do the illustrating part. So they can be illustrating in the background as you tell
Mm.
the story. So you don't have to focus on doing both. You can also create the storyboards in advance. You don't have to be drawing them as you talk. And so that will maybe eliminate some of the pressure and the stress of having to multitask. Also, you can ask kids or volunteers to draw for you or even pantomime the story. You can get some cool costume pieces and have them just kind of act it out. Kids love it, especially when like the older kids in the crowd come out and participate. That would just be really fun to watch and kind of put a visual to the storytelling. And lastly, you could even have the kids draw as you talk, kind of like note taking. So give them dry erase boards or just like a notepad and have them draw out what they think is happening in the story as you tell it. And then just like pause every so often so kids can show you what they've been drawing. I think that would be a really fun and engaging way to have them
Mm.
interact with the story and with you. So try that out.
Yes, I love that tip. Another tip that we have for you is to explore fairy tales from around the world. Most of us grew up with traditional Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales or Aesop fables, but there are so many fascinating fairy tales in every culture. I mean, Cinderella, there's a different version in every single country. So if you can find a collection of different fairy tales online with a simple search, or you can check out what's available at your local library or bookshop. I happen to know where you can find books. You just go online and search, or check out like your favorite local bookstore. Ask people who read a lot of books. And there's kid versions of a lot of these too. Some of these fairy tales are pretty involved, but if you just take another few minutes to check out what kind of kid versions there are, I'm sure you can get those too. But for sure, check your library first. Oftentimes, you can get those free. You can get them on your device, or you can even get the audio version of those so that kids can not only learn a fairy tale from their own context, but learn some from those that are from around the world. It'd be really fun.
I love that because my first exposure to Cinderella was the Korean version, which is very different. So it'll be really fun to compare and contrast these different versions as well. And also, Brooklyn not only is an avid reader, she is also a curator of amazing books. She has her own bookshop and everything. So feel free to reach out and ask for recommendations because she knows all the books.
Now I'm gonna have to make a book list that is just fairy tales from around the world. So
Do it. Do it.
maybe I'll do that. What month will people be using this series? In June, right?
In June, yes.
Yeah, so I need to get on it.
So by the time you're watching this, hopefully we'll have the list ready for you.
Yes, yes, cool.
Our third tip is always to get creative with the coloring pages. I know I talk about the coloring pages a lot, but we are very proud of them. And
Mhm.
this month is really fun because all of the coloring pages kind of look like your Disney princess coloring book characters. They're really pretty. So, a fun way you might want to try it out this month is to print all 4 pages in advance and make a little mini coloring book of just the ever after pages because we do cover every like the entire book of Ruth, right? So it'll be kind of like this visual storybook kids can have
Mhm.
with them. You can make the cover the ever after graphic that we provide, and also don't forget to include the memory verse coloring page so then they have the whole package ready at their fingertips.
Yes, yes. And finally, last tip for you. Don't forget to check out Grow Kids Volume 6. Guys, it's here. It's launching. It's going out into the atmosphere. We're so excited. And thank you, Pastor Linda, for helping us all. You guys don't even know how many times my heart received salvation because of Linda Moon. Um, I'm joking, but I'm also serious in the fact that she's just like super intentional about the things that we create, and kids are responding really well, and I just love it so much. I love to get to be a part of this. So we want to hear from you guys. Um, Send us your ideas, your comments, your failures, your tips, your successes, all those things. Actually put them on the Facebook group so that other people can search um, the series and find out things that they could do or things they may want to avoid as you learn your lessons along the way. So yeah, go ahead and search for stuff you can use at Children's Ministry Community on Facebook if you're not already a part of it. I think you are if you're watching this video. But make sure that you help each other there, celebrate there. And once again, thanks, Linda, for making things so easy and fun for kids. I can't wait to hear my own kids' reactions to this awesome series.
Hey, thanks everyone. I hope you have a wonderful ever after. And like Brooklyn was saying, please share because we really love hearing from you and seeing what you guys are doing with the curriculum. And that also Brooklyn is very brilliant about editing as well. Like she is one of the main creative forces behind this. So we are really excited to have you look at not only Ever After, but Volume 6, which just launched. So give us all the feedback. We love hearing from you. And thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us on this deep dive.
Yes. Thank you. Have fun today.